So 100% full disclosure, I had attempted to do this live on my laptop with a microphone, and I was going to bring people in on Zoom, and I was going to do all this cool, fancy stuff. I was ill-prepared. Like, I got this idea this morning. I should have thought about this last night. I got this idea this morning. And I was going to come on here, and we were going to have a conversation, and I need to be more technically prepared. I totally failed you. I totally did. The thing is like in my setup in my house, my studio where I kind of have things set up at, where I have my recording, is right by where the babies sleep. And I tend to be somewhat loud, especially if we're going to get into a conversation that's got so many people passionate about so many things. So what I decided to do was grab my Chromebook, not my fancy laptop, my Chromebook, and bring it out. And I was going to actually do it out here, out on the deck. But what happened was my neighbor over there started mowing his grass. So I went inside, and then I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it to work. And I wasn't just going to not come on here and talk to you about it because you were like, I promoted it. I said, hey, we're going to have this conversation, and if you can talk, like an adult about all the things that are going on, I want you to be a part of it. I want you to be in the conversation. And unfortunately, the capabilities just didn't work out, and I'm sorry. I'm going to try to research and prepare better. Maybe we'll go at it again tomorrow. Who knows? We shall see. If anybody has, let's see, allow viewers to send you requests. You can request to be in the broadcast. If you are watching and you want to request to be in this, that would really go a long way towards me knowing what I can and can't do and the capabilities of just doing this from holding my phone. Because if that's the case, I'll just get a stand and set it right here, and we can just do this tomorrow at this exact same time. I'm still learning a lot about video. It's wild to go from radio to podcasting and to know how popular video is and that kind of thing. And I'm just trying to get all my bearings in a row. So I am sorry that if you were like, hey, Mike, I really wanted to tell you what I thought of the riots over the weekend or the protests over the weekend or what happened, you know what? I really wanted to hear it because it's funny. The reason that I wanted to do this was simply the fact that yesterday we're in Des Moines, and Des Moines had a curfew that went down at 9 o'clock. And we were watching the news, and we're getting ready to go to bed. We're getting ready to feed babies and then go to bed. And as we're watching the news, there are people protesting down by the mall. There are people protesting downtown by the police station. And I couldn't take my eyes off of it because this is what I love to consume is news, is media, and these protests and these riots are just so, it's hard to take your eye off of it with the the cloud hanging over everything that is that is COVID-19. I see those that don't believe that the virus is not. They believe the virus is not all that potent and whatnot, and it was all media, whatever. I feel like we're going to see some spikes in these cities, every major American city where this happened. So last night, Lee says, if you were still on the radio, would you be talking about this, or would you rather not talk about it? And from doing sports talk in Ann Arbor and doing sports talk in Milwaukee, I thought, boy, I don't know what those guys are doing. I'm not sure what you would be doing. And I think about in Kansas City when I was on KMBZ, absolutely we would be talking about it. Obviously, it would be one of the biggest topics probably ever in the history of talk radio, right? Wouldn't it? And that's where I was like, man, what if I could actually pretend to be a radio host again during my break time? I got 3 babies asleep in there. Twins just went down. What if I could do that, but get more people involved and have a conversation? And maybe this becomes a thing we do every week maybe on a Monday we talk about the weekend's happenings, whether it's sports related or it's news related or it's whatever related. Hi to John and Adam, and hi Terry. And what's up to Jason? Technically ignorant Jason, who doesn't really know anything about Zoom. Don't worry, I don't know that much about Zoom either, Jason. I'm trying to learn too, man. And so I thought, what if I can get a Zoom call, then I can stream the Zoom call to my Facebook Live, and then it just didn't happen. It just did not happen. So I'm going to hopefully get that kind of figured out before I try to attempt this again on the fly, because usually what happens at 1:30, I put the third baby goes down, Britton, our oldest, and then I've got an hour until the babies wake up, till the twins wake up, and I didn't have enough time to get prepared. So I am sorry if you were expecting to be part of a big conversation. I see a lot of the comments that are coming in. Ryan says the KCTV networks had the sports guys doing live coverage down at the plaza. Sports guys doing news. No, they're totally competent of doing that. There's no doubt in my mind. And, just from my own perspective, I'm a white dude who lives in the suburbs in Iowa. I have no idea what's going through the mind of anybody of color. And I have no idea what it's like for you to see something like George Floyd get, murdered in that video. Hard to watch, incredibly hard to watch. And then there are so many people that are asking this exact same question. I know my wife Lee asked this question, and I ask this question often too, and you probably do too. What does burning your city to the ground have to do with justice? I mean, that cop is going to get charged with murder. I don't know what degree, but that cop is going to get charged with murder, and the other three are probably going to get charged deservedly so as well. But the question everybody keeps asking, and I see comments on Facebook, and unfortunately it's a political divide. Everything is a giant political divide. And you're either pro-protester or anti-protester, and that generally is on party line. And that's too bad. I mean, you can be for police reform, and you can be for, more stringent rules that we need to hold police officers to, and understand they have one of the toughest jobs in the world to go out there. And these situations that we are watching escalate, you can be anti-looter, you can be anti-protester. I mean, protesting is everybody's right to do in this country, and I think most people support that. But when you see, like my friend John, who runs a candy store in Madison, Wisconsin, the It's Sugar, have you seen that store? It's my friend John's store. And he recorded a video of watching people break it, or somebody sent him a video of watching people break the windows. And I don't know how that helps. I got into this conversation with somebody over the weekend who said, how does looting and burning stuff and breaking and lighting cars on fire, how does that help the cause? How does that help end police brutality? And the only thing I can figure is people didn't like it when Colin Kaepernick took a knee. People don't like it when people are on stage giving, award ceremony speeches and their words, instead of a silent protest, a verbal protest, or whatever. I just feel like there are so many people out there that are getting so fed up with the way that minorities are treated by police. And again, I'm a white guy in suburban Des Moines, Iowa. Like, I'm not a guy who lives, and I didn't grow up in the streets. I didn't grow up in the ghetto. I've had a pretty easy life, so I can't understand where some people are coming from. And that's why I ask people to come join me on this conversation, and you can post your comments on here. And once I figure out how to actually bring you into the conversation, I will do so. I just have like 8 minutes till the twins wake up. So it's difficult for me to watch and understand. But on the other side, I kind of get it. Whereas everything that Colin Kaepernick and other African Americans have tried to do since Martin Luther King Jr. marched, since the Civil Rights Movement, I mean, it doesn't seem to make one iota of difference towards minorities and the racism in this country. And I was hoping to have a good conversation with you about it. And I failed, technically. But I will be back. I promise you. I will figure this out. I will get my technical nerd friends to show me how to patch everything through. And I've been watching all the violence, and I've been watching all the looting, and it's amazing to me how this one is different Ferguson happened, and we didn't have the social media reach that we do now. And Ferguson was, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago? Something along those lines. Please don't quote me and tell me I'm an idiot for getting it wrong. All right? But the way that the George Floyd video and the murder of that man has led to the protest in every city. I mean, it is a firestorm of protesting and rioting and looting. I mean, from Portland to Miami, from Los Angeles to New York City, everywhere in between. My friends in Milwaukee, be safe. I was watching videos last night after the curfew of the protests going down Oakland and Locust. And my friends in Kansas City. I mean, my old partner, Jamie Monticelli, went for a walk, I believe it was on Saturday morning, and took pictures of the plaza. And all the stores were busted. The windows were busted. Everybody. And again, I don't know how that helps. And my Republican friends will say, well, that's Antifa. That's the extreme left. And my Democrat friends, of course, this has to be politically divided, and sadly, it's where we're at in 2020. My Democrat friends will say, well, those are people posing. That's the Proud Boys and the KKK posing as Antifa. And you see so many videos of, people trying to do good. My friend Mike sent me a video today, or a picture today, and I saw it over the weekend, of some protesters protecting some black protesters protecting a white cop. And I don't know if it's the extreme minority, and by that I mean small numbers, of people on both sides, people who just want to watch the world burn, people who want to set up Democrats, people who want to set up the extreme right. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? Isn't it just awful that that's what we've come to now? That, none of this would have happened if the police in Minneapolis had just done the right thing, paused, breathed, had him in cuffs already, but paused, breathed, arrested him, and took him to the station. How many people wouldn't have had rubber bullets fired at them? How many media members wouldn't have been arrested? How many average Joes like you and me wouldn't have had tear gas and have to have milk poured in their eyes? And that little girl in Seattle wouldn't have had to have milk poured in her eye. And that's another thing, too. My friend Emily in Seattle just unfriended me because I said the little girl shouldn't have even been there. If you're going to go to a protest, especially these, if you're going to go to a protest, whatever city you live in, don't bring your kids. Don't bring a 9-year-old girl to a protest where you absolutely know that it could turn nasty. I mean, it's great to see some of these that don't turn nasty. I was watching the one in downtown Des Moines, and the street was blocked off, and on one side you had the police station, and you had rows of police officers in their riot gear, and on the other side you had hundreds of protesters. And at 9 o'clock when the curfew happened, you know what? Everybody was kneeling on the protesters' side. The police all took a knee. And that protest broke up about 10 or 15 minutes later, and it was great to see that. But so many of these are turning nasty and violent, and I don't get it. Unless it's all about the very extreme minorities on the right and the left trying to antagonize the other. Because where does it always wind back up? Politics. It winds back up with politics. The president bagging on governors, people bagging on the president. The riots aren't Trump's fault. COVID-19 wasn't Trump's fault. He's not helping the situation much. But you can't say, well, we have racism in this country because of Donald Trump. That's not the case whatsoever. We do not have racism in this country because of Donald Trump. We have racists in this country that do support Donald Trump, but it's not his fault. He fuels I wish he was more compassionate, but I've given up hope on that. But it comes back to, I just can't believe that this is where we were at, and I was hoping to have a conversation. Jason writes, too bad we can't eliminate the politics and just talk to each other. That would go a long way. There's a lot more good than bad. I agree with you. Like, what percentage of people do you actually think are throwing bricks through windows and setting cars on fire. Like the Channel 41 news car was on fire in Kansas City, and the Channel 9 KMBC, where my good friend Chris Ketz works, the Channel 9 SUV was busted and broken into and destroyed. I don't know what that helps. I really have no idea, and I don't think it's the majority. I think the majority of these protesters are taking knees and doing the right thing and chanting in a peaceful manner. I don't know. I mean, I would much rather be doing a podcast talking about Brewers baseball right now and Packers training camp and the Bucks in the NBA Finals, or my other podcast that you might listen to. And I thank everybody who does, about being a dad. I got a special conversation coming up with a friend of mine. He's not my only black friend, but he is a black guy, and I want to talk to him on Check Out My Dad Pod about what it's like to, they've got a newborn daughter, I think she's a year, about what it's like to raise a young girl who's going to go through life experiencing stuff that I never will, because I'm a white guy. You know, we're no closer. I said this before years ago. We snuck a black president into the White House. I don't think we're much further than this towards ending racism and racial equality than from when Dr. King marched. Excuse me. And I don't know, man. These riots, this looting, all of this, it's not helping. It makes all these cities more divided. You've got people that are in there trying to weasel into doing, worse things, trying to make things nasty, trying to make things worse. I mean, I just watched a video where a black woman, stopped a car that had a bunch of white guys in it that were handing out bricks to protesters. She screamed at them. Good for her, man. Because, if you saw the rapper Killer Mike, and I'm paraphrasing, who said, "Don't burn down your own home because you're angry at your enemy. You need to fortify your home." That's what we have to do, man. And I know this is not a hot take. And I know that extreme hot takes on the left and extreme hot takes on the right and all that, they're the ones that are going to get all the eyes, they're the ones that are going to get all the views, they're the ones that are going to get all the clicks, they're the ones that people are going to say, "Oh, did you hear what Sean Hannity said? Or did you hear what, Don Lemon said?" I don't know, man. It's a scary place. I got 3 babies. I got to go wake them up here, so I'm going to end this pretty soon. But Chris says it only takes one person. It does only take one. If you could have 100 protesters, 99 of them are doing the right thing, chanting with their signs and trying to get their message heard, and they're on their knee or whatever. Maybe everyone's silent, and it takes one dude. You're right, Chris. It takes one dude. Somebody has decided to fire up a bandsaw around here. I got 2 girls and a boy that I have to go wake up. I got to wake up the twins right now. And what are they going to face when they grow up? And are they going to have, an even bigger gap to try to close when they become 10 and 12 and 15 and 20 and 30? Ryan says, I love your tone. It's a rough season. I appreciate what you're saying. Well, thank you, Ryan. I'm glad, man. And I would love to have more people's faces and voices and not just my own on this. My guy Mo is going to help me figure out what exactly I'm doing wrong. But I don't know if the protests are going to continue tonight. I don't know if the rioting is going to continue tonight. I don't know if the looting is going to continue tonight. I know that there's one. I mean, people are organizing these things, and it's no longer the weekend; it's the weekdays, so things are a little bit different. And I do hope that it calms down wherever you are watching this. I hope you're staying safe. And staying on your own porch sometimes isn't safe. I mean, you saw that video probably in Minneapolis of, was it the National Guard or the Minneapolis police firing rubber bullets at people who weren't staying in their homes but were opening the door? It's just, man. And I don't know, man. I don't have any answers. That's why I love talking this out. It's what I did for my entire career, and it's what I'm doing with you today. So we will do this again, and I will be more technically savvy. You will be part of the conversation. I won't just be reading your comments. And as Ryan says, I should check on the twins. Maybe they're the ones running the bandsaw. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. So I apologize for disappointing. Hopefully this was at least an enjoyable broadcast for you. I'll have a new podcast for you, both fronts this week. And we got a very cool thing happening on Saturday and Sunday, Podcastathon. Podcastathon is coming up. I'll have all the information on the Facebook page and on Twitter, but it's to help out those in need in the state of Wisconsin. We'll be live podcasting on Saturday for 12 hours and Sunday for 12 hours, so make sure you check out Podcastathon. Go to wisconsinpodcast.com for all of those details, or the Facebook page. So there you go. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go wake the twins up. We'll do this again. I'm Mike Wickett. Stay safe. I love you, and yeah, just be good to each other, okay? Be good.